lives one day at a time. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. They're here to get your day going fine. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. Kimmy Kim and Elations Radio. And here's your host, Miss Kim Rodney.
What's up, family? It's me, Jerry Rose Live Worldwide from Positive Power Double XI, and you're listening to Elations Radio with Kimmy Kim.
Well, good evening, everybody. This is Dr. Rodney Pearson on Christies Radio. Amen, amen. And we have not been with you for a little bit. We have just kind of had the holidays, and then we had a death in the family, and just all kinds of things. And I got sick, and so all kinds of things have been happening. But we are back, and I tell you, I am so glad to be able to be back. So glad. So tonight, we have an exciting, very exciting program. I have a special guest with me, and my guest is in California right now. And her name is Dr. Chandra Luke. So, Dr. Luke, why don't you say hello to our radio audience?
Hello.
I'm just so glad to be able to have you with us tonight. You guys are like the whole state of California is on fire right now, right?
Not exactly.
Not exactly. Now, where are you in relation to where the fires are going on? I mean, I've been watching it on TV and getting a lot of Facebook messages. So you're in what part of California compared to where these fires are going on?
Okay, I'm about 3 hours away from the fires. I'm headed towards Barstow, almost to the Nevada state line.
Oh, okay. So then you're not really in any kind of danger or anything, right?
No.
Okay,
no.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Is there lots of smoke in your direction? I mean, like I said, the way that they are showing it on the media, they just got it, making it look like the whole state is burning down.
No, you'd have to be down the hill. I'm up the hill. I'm in the high desert. You'd have to be beyond the Inland Empire, headed towards Los Angeles County. It is pretty there. Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you're safe. I'm really glad you're safe. Now I'll tell you something that's ironic. My mother, who lives in Compton, is feeling absolutely safe.
Amen.
No problems down there. She says she's watching the news and she is just looking at everything. But it's funny how Compton doesn't get the mudslides, it doesn't get the flooding, it doesn't get all of the wildfires, all of that stuff. Only has to worry about the Comptonites and Comptonians. So I'm so glad that she is safe. So, Chandra, we're going to talk now about your story. And let me just let everybody know that, give you a little bit of background of Chandra and our connection. We met several years ago. Has it been over 20 now, Chandra?
Yes, it has been.
Yeah. It's
over.
Over 25. Time goes fast when you're having fun, right?
Yes, it does.
We met basically in school together. We were both. I was working on my doctorate degree. Chandra, were you working on a degree at that time?
No, I had finished.
Okay. You had finished yours and you were working for the school, right?
That's correct.
Oh, yeah, okay. I got to remember because I was an old man. I mean, I'm an old man now, so my memory's not the way it used to be. But, and so we met back then, and Chandra worked with me at my ministry in Los Angeles. She was my administrator there. Did a great job, did a wonderful job, and she's just been working in ministry and doing all kinds of stuff, and continue to work for schools. And what are some of the some of the places. Chandra, you worked in a few schools, didn't you?
Yes, I worked in several private Christian universities and colleges.
Yeah.
Throughout
Why don't you give
California.
give the audience a little bit about that background, because you're a phenomenal woman, and I want to be able to show them how this woman who's done so much, and yet what you had to go through. So give them a little bit of background about what you've done.
Okay. Well, what I've done is I've worked alongside of some great men of God. We've opened up universities and colleges throughout Southern California. I've been working with Living Word Bible College in Pomona, Scholars Bible College in Moreno Valley. I can't think of the name of the college in Pasadena. We've opened in several in Ontario, Compton, San Diego. We have one in Georgia, and we have one in Michigan now. So, the colleges, yes.
And you've been doing, I understand you were the dean, where I just received an honorary doctorate degree in theology, and you were the dean at that college, right?
Yes, I serve as the academic dean there, also an adjunct professor, and I chair the Greek and Biblical Studies department.
Amazing. That's a tremendous background. And at the end of the show, I want to be able to leave your contact information so that our people who are listening, if they want to go to school, if they want to start a school in their area, whatever, they can contact you. But we'll leave that information at the end of our show, okay?
That sounds good. Yes, sir.
All right. So, Chandra, you got a great story. I don't mean great in a positive, wonderful way. I mean it's a tremendously, I guess, horrific story of a person who you fell in love with, started off with a great relationship, and the whole thing went sour. So let's start off by, we won't mention any names, but we will just tell your side of this story so that people will be able to know that this woman who has done such a great job in the field of Christian education, in the field of ministry, all of the things that you've done, tell us what happened and when did this whole thing start?
Well, the relationship was a storybook relationship, blended family, just wonderful, two ministers just loving on the Lord and coming together. Time went on, 10 years, maybe 19 years, and then things just went the total opposite. There was an incident that was really, really devastating, impacting to our home. In the ministry, domestic violence is totally unheard of. It's almost like taboo. It's something that's kept under the rug, swept under the rug, and especially when it's the leaders. No one addresses it. No one is going to believe that the first lady is having any issues. It's almost like if when President Barack was former President Barack was president and his wife Michelle, he would domestically violate her. Who's gonna take up for it? Who's gonna believe that? It feels like that. Such power in a social surroundings, but yet you're so vulnerable and you're so in a position where you could destroy the image of the one person that you would think has your best interest. And at the same time, because of the better of the whole, the first ladies oftentimes will keep their mouth shut. They will endure the ministry. They will take a lot of abuse. They will ignore it. They will learn how to be camouflaged. You'll learn how to blend in. You'll learn how to smile when it's an upside down frown. You'll learn how to weep and just dab the eye, and you'll learn how to put the right makeup on to give the right impression of the light that you don't have, but you'll build one inside your skin so that it reflects that others will think that you're still happy, you're still joyful, but inside you're not. And there's a form of abuse that happens that no one takes account of. They don't take account of the emotional abuse. You don't take account of the silent abuse. You don't take account of the abuses that have no external evidences that they have existed. No one can see that. It goes unmonitored in the church.
So let me ask you this. Was yours, was it physical? Was it emotional? Combination? Give this audience a little bit more of what happened, because they can take it. Now, you don't have to hold nothing back. I just want you to know they can handle it, all right? What kind of abuse did you deal with?
First of all, I dealt with several things, especially as a first lady. You deal with the abuses of other women that come into your space and will disrespect, first of all, your role. Secondly, they'll disrespect your marriage. Thirdly, they disrespect your whole family structure. Then there's that other abuse where there can be relationships that are going on that you're not always aware of, but because you sit in a role that has to be personified as holy, righteous, good, and all that, you have to maintain an integrity. You have to maintain a character. You must maintain this first lady-ish type of persona that really is a first lady. It's no lady. And if you were to say anything cross or you were to rebuke, you would be considered out of order. You're considered rude, crude. So these are abuses that are not always taken. And then when after the sermon is over, when you are going home in your separate cars, or when the end of the service and you are left standing alone and everyone else is gone, or if there's an issue, you're rebuked over in the front of the audience, but then you say nothing. You don't turn your head. You keep a straight face and receive that open rebuke and continue on. All of these are abuses that continue to manifest in the household without evidence that it happened. And it's just not the first lady. The children, oftentimes men can be emasculated by the first lady. There are different types of abuses that all should be labeled domestic. It's not always that black eye or that busted lip or that physical bruise, but it's the scars that no one sees that won't get healed. It's the scars.
All right.
Yes, sir.
So this you said there are many types that you had to deal with. So this is something that basically you were just put in a position where you were embarrassed and put down, and you said this was all publicly. This wasn't this part that you're talking about now. This wasn't the private stuff. This was the public stuff.
Yeah, in private is a whole different atmosphere. In the public, because it is in the public, you learn how to look like you're resilient. You learn how to not give a response. Learn how to hold back the tears and just say nothing and show no type of emotion. You'll learn how to look, smile, and say nothing. And after a while, you have been trained. You have been classically conditioned to hear and respond to abuse as if it were an instruction that's given to you for behavior.
Oh, my goodness. And this is all public.
This is public. A lot of times it goes on. We don't see it because we're so used to the image that we want the pastor and the first lady to have. We're so one image of whatever but not understanding that there are people too. They have downsides. They have challenges. They have disagreements. They have times when there's a quarrel. They have times when there's a sadness. But yet, because of the role, they're not given the freedom to be human. They're not given the freedom to show emotion. They're not given the freedom to show that we're having a great challenge here. Would you pray for us? That is such an image of godliness that destroys the ministry because it has destroyed the man, the woman, the marriage, and you have nothing.
Wow. And there's so many first ladies like yourself who do encounter. I've counseled so many people who they go through it, and you're looking at the person. They're dressed nice. You're an attractive woman. They get all of this kind of the accolades and all of this stuff, but like you said, internally they are just crying every day.
Yeah. And one of the challenges, because I deal with a lot of first ladies and I'm able to talk to them, a lot of them have a history of abuse, and it's their norm. So they kind of gravitate to that. It's so familiar that they can live in that type of hostility, in that type of unhealthiness, and survive. But they're only existing. They're not really surviving. They're only existing until they come to that place before our Father where they can repent to Him. Forgive me for not loving myself like you love me. Forgive me for learning how to see the beauty that you have made me to be and accept it and not hear the dogma from others. That took me years to come to that because I loved my husband so much. And I said, Lord, no matter what, I will not hate him. No matter what happens, I want you to let me cry so that I will cry for all of the first ladies. Let me hurt so I will hurt for all of the first ladies so they won't have to hurt. I'll take it to you in prayer. Let me not ever forget the pain that it costs to be in this role, to be in this position, to stand before these children, to stand for these women, because there are so many hurting women because they want the role of his wife, the role of first lady. They don't understand the weight that comes with that title. They don't understand the quietness, the secrecy, and the commitment to live in a lie that comes with that image.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, all right. So we've heard this public side. That's horrific. Let's go to the private side. What was going on behind closed doors?
Behind closed doors, it was even more tragic. That was silence. The silence is one of the most dangerous killers because you don't know what the person's thinking. You are light sleeping. Sometimes you might have I know me myself. Sometimes I've had a knife under my bed, or I just sit back. I'm not knowing. I get scared, and then I'm thinking, well, Lord, I put my trust in you. I can't go to sleep, and I wouldn't go to sleep. I would just be dazed and just listen and try to hear. And then one of the most deceitful things is when you don't smoke or drink or indulge in any type of external substances that can alter you, and then you're invited and or put in position where you're have a drink with me or and then you all you need is a sip if this is new to you, and then you're out, and then that person's taking advantage of you. That did happen. There was no one to stand for me. I was really, really hurt. That was a sodomy act. No one stood for me. I had to go by myself. I was going back and forth to court. It was awful. That was a trick. Well, if you drop these charges, then I won't divorce. And, but I went through years of embarrassment, years of shame. For a whole year, I did not go anywhere. I stayed in my house. I had become so sick. mentally and physically. My two young sons, very, very young, were actually had thousands of dollars paying bills, and we have to catch the bus. We had no transportation. It was horrible. The whole family went through. But I tell you what, if you can hold on to the promise that God himself will vindicate, when I mean vindicate, I'm not saying that he's going to kill this person, he's going to do any evil. What I'm saying is this. If you know that you're right and you have not done anything wrong to this, you can go before the Father. You can petition, Father, if you're going to get glory from this horrible act, then you get your glory. If me going through this is going to bring you glory, it's going to restore my family, it's going to strengthen the ministry, then Father, let me be like Jesus. Let it pass. And that's what I'm doing for years. My
that
friends,
takes a lot of strength.
They talk. See, you look at that. Yeah, you just fell in love with the man and this and that. You know, I went through years of embarrassment, but I wasn't. They didn't understand. I wasn't embarrassed. I win my battles on my knees. So the more they talked about me, the more I continued to pray. The more I began to pray and intercede for marriages. I have a list of pastors and their wives' names. I have a list of their children. And I began to pray. I said, if the enemy is tearing up my house, let me tell you what's going to happen. You might have got this house, but I'll be doggone if you get any other ones while I'm alive. And I started praying and petitioning for households. I started praying and petitioning for marriages. I started praying and petitioning for families. I started praying and petitioning for generational successes in the kingdom. And I'm telling you, the more I prayed, the more hell I went through. But I'm telling you, when I came out of it, I just stood strong. I stood strong. Wow. I could walk up to a woman now, and I can tell you what happened. Have you been sodomized? Have you been put in position where I've compromised? Have you been drugged? Have you been mistreated? Have you been given drugs that alter your mind and cause you to be compromising? Oh, yeah, I can tell you, because I don't, and it's not a prophetic spirit. It's called experience. I know that demon.
Yeah.
I know that demon by name. And when I see it, I immediately cast it out, because he can't dwell with me, not in my space. And I take authority.
Wow.
And I don't just speak in the church. I go outside, because, see, the people in the church are supposed to be saved. I step outside. Like now, I pray at 8 o'clock. We're going to pray, and I pray outside. I come and I walk. Lord, this is your planet. You gave us authority over every reality. I'm taking authority now over human existence. And I decree salvation for all of the people. I'm coming against the marriages that have been assigned to the devil.
Yeah.
I cancel the assignment now. And I say the marriage is whole. I cancel the adulterer. I cancel the fornicator. I cancel promiscuity that is in the mind, impregnated in the mind of your people. See, we have to get to the root of the problem. You can't. If you watch what Jesus did, Jesus cursed the root of the fig tree. It had a fig.
Wow.
It looked like it was supposed to be blooming, supposed to be edible. But he said, oh, no, you won't do this again. And when he came back, the tree was dead. The whole tree, not part of the tree, not the fig, the whole tree was gone. So if you want the lie to end, you have to curse the lie.
Yeah.
At the root.
Yeah. Wow. Well, let's go to another place here. This is so powerful, and I sure hope that our audience is being blessed, because I just feel that, in the spirit, that demons are trembling right now because you're attacking them where they hurt. But let's go to this place. Now, you were sexually abused by your own husband. Now, there are a lot of people who say that if it's your husband thing of sexual abuse, that you belong to him. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I can come to that in many ways. First of all, the scriptures does tell us that the wedding bed is undefiled. However, you must remember that Jesus also said that man is to love his wife like Christ loved the church, so much so that he would die for it. Christ did not ever once abuse the church in any way. Not one way. When you love yourself, you do not hurt yourself.
Right.
I don't know anyone who loves themselves and hurt themselves. People that abuse themselves, that are self-abusive, they hate themselves and they're trying to destroy
themselves. They don't love themselves. That's right. They don't love themselves.
Don't love yourself. So I looked at it at this manner. When that happened, it hurted me. I was terrified. I was just tore up. But what the Lord showed me is that you pray for him because you do love him, and that is a part of you. If that were you, what would you want? And I said, Lord, if that were me, I would want someone to lead me, guide me, and protect me and teach me truth.
Yeah.
And I pray for truth. I pray for God's holy truth in his mind. I pray for deliverance. I pray that every lie would be exposed. I pray to the Father that he would open up the eyes of every person that knew this person to begin to speak life into him and speak truth. And I continue to pray. It took 7-8 years. I never was bitter with him. No, I take it back. I was bitter with him. We went to counseling, and I just thrashed at him because I let him know this was not okay. And he was so upset and frightened that he just wrote it off as if I was some mad maniac person. And then he had already convinced these women that he was in the right. And I told him, there's no right about this. There's no right. You cannot give consent when someone has intoxicated you. You can't give consent when you don't have your faculties. And secondly, what's more important is that sodomy is against the Bible, the scriptures. That's an abomination.
Yeah. And just in case you're out there and you hear the word sodomy, what she's talking about is forcible anal sex. I want to make sure that you guys understand that, audience understand that. So this husband forced himself and began to penetrate his wife anally and totally without her consent. So I want to make sure that our audience understands what's going on there. Let me ask you this. You know what? One of the things that's important about what you're saying, and I appreciate what you just said, that when you went to counseling and you had to let him know that this was wrong, because some people might get the impression that because you were there for 7 years, you didn't speak up for yourself or you just let these things happen. But that's not the case at all, is it?
No, that's not the case. I went to court, and as embarrassed as I was, I spoke out. And I did release the charges. I did not press charges against him because that would have been a 15-year sentence. And I dealt with that. His mother is my bestest friend. I love his mother. And she asked me, because for years she thought that I had lied on her son. I was trying to do things. And she finally asked me, and I said, Mother, that's not what happened. I said, this is the only child you have. And I have children with this man. There is no way I could face my children every day and their father's in prison because I press charges, or that I could see you and know that your son is not with you for your birthday and for Mother's Day because I press charges. I told the Lord that I'll be okay. I'll get over this. Just don't divide my family. I was willing to go and walk in forgiveness and continue on with my relationship. I was willing.
Okay. All right. And so let's make sure, again, that we do some clarifying here. So for our audience, every situation is going to be different. Now, the doctor here, for her situation, she made a decision. And that decision was she did not want to see the father of her children in prison. But we want to make sure that if you are experiencing any kind of domestic violence or sexual abuse, and you're out there, she's not necessarily advocating that, and we want to make that plain. She's just simply saying that for her situation, as she prayed, that's what the conclusion that she came with. But there may be people out there that you're dealing with stuff, and that stuff that's happening, that may not be the case for you. People often say things like, well, you know, she just stayed there and she just took it. And why did they say? Many people don't realize why a lot of women stay with their abusers.
Okay. Can I expound on that for a moment? There are some things that they don't understand, the audience is not aware of. I was not, and when after this happened, we lived in separate homes. We were not cohabitating. The first thing that I teach all women and men, because men are violated as well, is that if you are sexually abused, you must separate. You remove yourself from that situation because you are vulnerable. You can at any moment snap, and then you will no longer be the victim. You will become the perpetrator.
Okay, good. See, I'm glad you're bringing that out. So, audience, please pay attention to this. What she's saying is when she was trying to bring some stability, she was not in her home. So by this time, she had separated. She was out there. We just need to make it clear to our audience. I don't want anybody to get the impression that you sat there and took all of this abuse, this verbal abuse, this sexual abuse or anything, and you just didn't do anything. So you did have to stand up because you had to protect your children and everything, right?
Right. I did stand up. I left. The court, when the courts came in, that was an immediate separation. Whenever the people involved, it's separation. If you're going to the church, and if there's any sexual assault of whatever age, immediately the first thing to do is to separate the two. If it's children in the home, they should be separated. If it's two adults, they're separated. Even homosexuality relationships, any type of relationship that involves people that live in the same household, there has to be a separation of those two to live in separate homes.
Right.
You won't have any peace. You can't sleep, not safely. Your safety is in violation. And once a person becomes fearful, you are on guard.
Anything can happen.
You begin to it becomes an act of malice because you start to defend. Then you'll start to go beyond that. Then I'm going to get them before they get me. Before you get to that point, just separate so that you can pray.
Okay, all right. And let's make sure that we understand, too, for you Christians that are out there, the Bible says that if the unbelieving man can't live with the unbelieving woman, if the Bible gives room for separation. So we want to make sure that for those of you who feel like, well, I got to stay with my husband or I got to stay with my wife, what Dr. Chandra is saying here is that she took the wise course and she had to separate. And she was protecting and all of that stuff, but I want to make sure that people know. Because some people, and Dr. Luke, you know this, some people will use the Bible to justify that they can't protect their selves against these abusers. They'll use the Bible to say that wife has to stay there.
I've heard that before. I'm a counselor as well, and that's not what I ever advocate. The first thing that I do is I try to make sure that you understand what separation is. Because you're physically living in separate homes does not constitute a separation.
Okay.
What does is that you're using common sense and you're protecting that temple that God has given you. And you're using the faculties that He has given you to establish boundaries that will be healthy for you when you come together.
Good. That's good. So we want to make sure that people who are hearing this understand that. All right. So, let's go on a little bit further here. Now, so you guys were separated for a while, and what happened after that? Okay, all of these things took place. Everything is up in the air. Mom knows about it. Now the courts are involved. What happened from there?
That was great. The church was looking, and that was a great. That was.
Can you repeat that? Because you're breaking up pretty bad there. Can you repeat that?
There's a great cover up that comes with the church.
Okay.
In position where the husband has been accused of any type of a sexual assault, immediately he has to find a relationship that's stable, that looks healthy, that looks good, that gives him that same role of stability as the pastor, the reverend doctor, or whatever. And he fell into that. He got married to someone else, and that went sour quickly. And what happened is that our children suffered greatly. The identity crisis went on. Just terrible grades went down. Just everything. There was too many tears too quickly for young children, and a breakup. And for me, I was already trying to keep it stable. I couldn't go to work and leave them. I couldn't go too many places without them because they were broken. In school, I had them in counseling. I had them in self-help programs. I had them going to Catholic Charities for counseling. I had them in the counseling because the church didn't offer that type of counseling.
Now, why do you think that is? Why do you think that there's so many churches who don't do that, especially in the black church?
Because they have to admit that we're violent. It has to be an acknowledgement that the man and or woman is in error. It has to be understood that they, although you have a title, although you have this spiritual maturity, although you have these gifts, at the end of the day, you're still human. You still will die, and you still will go and be judged. And that is never looked at.
Man.
I'm a leader in church, and I never, ever put myself high. Even when I minister, I don't come in the fancy clothes and robes and stuff. I take my stuff off. I come and sit among the people, and I let them know, and I touch them as I'm talking and ministering to let them know I'm human just like you. There's nothing special about me. I just had a mic today. That's it.
Yeah, that's good. Man,
we set the leaders up to fail. We set the leaders up to fail us. That's the Reverend Bishop Doctor, and they're so great and superior. His wife is so excellent. She can't sneeze. She's not allowed to make a mistake. That man can't be allowed to fall. We have to understand that our leaders are human. They do fall. They do err. That's why we pray for them, that they will not fall into the hands of the enemy. Because when they do fall, there's no place for them to go. Do you know I couldn't get an attorney without $5,000? Nobody would represent me. I had to file my own case myself. Over 200 pages. I had to file it myself. No one wants to deal with the church because the church people will change their mind. They'll go in and say, "Oh well, no, I don't remember." No, if it's wrong, it's wrong. Let your yay be yay. Let all that be true. But understand, if you cannot judge in the church, you have to go to the courts to judge you and your lifestyle. You don't need to be in the church. Not running it. That should have been handled at the church.
Right. So leaders. Go ahead. Say that again.
There's a great challenge with that. We have many, and especially in the African American church, we have so many pastors that have 3 people, 6 dogs, 3 cats, and 4 Cadillacs on the storefront. And then they sell it to nobody, to no one. When you go to other ethnicities, they're organized and they have leaders that are in charge of the leaders. Go back to the Old Testament. The Old Testament set up has one leader over 1,000. Out of that 1,000, there's a leader over 100. There's a leader over the 10. That's the math. But we won't do that in our communities. We want our 3 people and our 6 cats and 3 dogs and the 3 or 4 Cadillacs. And we want to call ourselves the Reverend Dr. Bishop somebody because we got all that. It's not about that. None of that's going to get us to heaven.
And I think that what takes place is there becomes a sense of it's like a false sense of greatness that we try to create. And usually what I've seen in many places like this is where because a person, it's like the church is great in their neighborhood. They can't be great on their jobs. They can't be great in their communities, but they can go ahead and open up a storefront church, put a title in front of their name, and one of those dogs or those cats that you're talking about becomes the armor bearer, and then now they have this greatness.
Right. And you know the challenge with that is that that's in the house. We're compelled to go out into the in the byways, not into the storefront. That's
you better watch it. You better watch it.
Well, you know, that is true. And then one of the greatest challenges, another great challenge I have is that we have churches, we have these facilities, we have these buildings that offer no services, give money out. I'm wondering what would happen if all of the churches that have less than 100 people got together and rented or purchased one facility, and they rotated their services out to in the communities.
Oh man, you know. Well, you know, if they can't be in charge, you know, a lot of pastors, you know, they have to have the number one role because again, in the black church, we haven't done very well learning how to work together as a team. We are always looking to who's going to be in charge, who's going to get the most respect, who's going to get the most money. And as you said, often in many of these other ethnicities, they've learned the art of sharing in community. But we struggle with that as a people. We struggle with that. And I think that what happens is that in the church should be the real symbol of the model of community at large. That's what the church is supposed to do. If we can't be in charge of something, we will split up, take 3 or 4 members, and go start our own thing.
Right, and you become counterproductive at that point. We're as a body, so we should function as a body. We don't. We function as one finger on a hand, which means that we are not productive. In the African-American church in North America, the communities shape the church, and that's not correct.
Yeah, the church should shape the community. That's what you're saying.
Yes, but they don't. What happens is that you'll have the young community, a church that's in the community with a large population of gangbangers, and they playing rap music, and they just throwing it up that way. But they have to yet shape the community. If that's the truth, then why would you not go in and teach them you're gangbanging? Okay, you're fighting. Then let's take your talents that you have and show you how to use them to glorify God. You have the dope dealers. You have all the people that are business entrepreneurs out here on the street corners. Set up some entrepreneur classes and teach them how to get their 501c3s and their LLCs and different type of corporations so that they can be legally revenue producers in the mainstream of economy versus being an outcast in the streets. Yeah.
And you've done really well at learning how to put businesses together and how to do all of this kind of these legal things. And it seems like that if more people look like the church could even hire a person like you, bring them in so that you could teach them these kinds of skills, how to set up the 501c and the E-corporation and the partnerships, because you know all that kind of stuff. But if churches would say, hey, let's provide this service for our community. What do you think is stopping them from doing that, Dr. Luke?
Well, one of the pitfalls I have, because I own the Intercessor, and I perform workshops for people who are survivors of sexual assault. And what I do is I go into church and I provide them basically for this, mainly when I'll offer it a 10-week course, and I'll come in and I teach them about who Christ says that they are. And in that, they learn how to find their gifts, and we take the gifts and we incorporate them. And that gift becomes their witty invention to create revenue for them. And then they learn how to take that revenue and make it where it's community-based so that they're able to have employees, and they become the virtuous woman, the Proverbs 31 woman, where she's taking care of households. Then we teach her how to go about not always looking for a grant, but creating her own money to stay in existence. And it takes you maybe 3 to 5 years, but in 3 to 5 years, where are you going to be? And that's why always my point. I tell them, I said, quit trying to always look for something free. It's already in you. You have to find it and pull it out and learn how to trust God with the seed that He has given you. His seed germinate. You have to know what soil to put it in. I do the workshop.
You just messed up a lot of people, because a lot of folk think that, when you say not looking for nothing free, they think that scripture that says that the wealth of the wicked is set up, for the believer. They think that wicked person is just going to walk in the room and just hand them $1 million.
That's not true. That's not how that scripture reads. The scripture does say that God will take the wealth of the wicked. He said the wealth. The wealth isn't always in dollars and cents. Our greatest wealth is our knowledge. He gives us knowledge and understanding. He gives that to those are gifts. That's the wealth that we have. You might get a house that you didn't build. Okay, but what happens when the fire comes and burns it up? You don't have a house anymore. When you
come on.
And understanding, you can take my help. You can take everything, but you can't take my knowledge from me. You can't take my understanding from me. You might take all that I built from me. I'll just do it over again. That's all. This time it's going to be more improved. And that's the advantage that educated people have versus the ones who are not. And when I mean educated, I'm not always saying the person with the degrees. I'm saying when you've taken the time to become the master at a skill, you have already made yourself worthy that you will attract all of the wealth that is due, so that you could become the just steward and give your seed to the Father to continue to bless.
So that's what you do. You go in, you do these workshops. Now, when you do these workshops, do people have to have a certain level of formalized education, or are these workshops for the average church person? Who is actually able to come to these workshops?
Okay, if you can talk, you want to be at this workshop. You don't have to know how to read, because you'll learn how to read because I have a workbook. And what I do is that I prepare each person at their own level to find out within themselves what's going on. I take 2 to 3 hours per lecture, and I have them come in, and it's a group setting, because what you're about to do, you're about to unclothe. You're about to be stark naked before the Father. What happens in this session, no one, it does not leave outside of that, because this is a time when you're healing in your emotions. This is a time when you're becoming vulnerable to the spirit inside of you that you ignore. We have learned how to not adhere to the spirit that God speaks through us to, because we're too busy trying to please others and to look like what they want us to look like, and not what.
So anybody can come to these sessions. Wow. Now, why don't you just kind of give people some of the subject matter? What's some of the titles and subject matters that you deal with, in these workshops? Somebody who's out there, a pastor, a minister, they may be interested in bringing you to a conference or something like that. So give us some idea. What subjects do you cover?
I cover 10 subjects. I first of all deal with who you are right now and who do you say you are. I look at your background, and before I do any of the workshops, I already have a resume. You've already sent that to me. You've sent me information, and I have it. And what I do from that is I build your workbook for you. There's scriptures in there for you. There's a workbook that we deal with called patterns. There's 2 different workbooks. And in the patterns, you learn what it is that makes you perform the way that you do. Is it because someone has programmed you to believe that you're insecure, that you're inferior, that you're not worthy, that you are not in position to receive because you're ignorant, illiterate? And I deal with all of these deficiencies through your character and through your emotions and through your belief system of who you have identified yourself with. I deal with another area of woundedness. When we find out how deep your scars are these scars from a great-grandmother that has said that you're not going to be any good because your mama's mama was on welfare and you are too, and now you're teaching that to your child? I deal with the first lady whose father was a pastor who molested her, and not just her but everyone else that he could. I deal with the sexual abuses that have happened in the church that was quiet and no one said anything, but everyone knew and they whispered about you, and you had to live in that church all of your life and deal with the whispering and become the promiscuous person in the church because everyone knew what had happened to you.
Now, this is a lot of deep stuff here. This is a lot of deep stuff. I only got a minute and a half left. So, with no way in the world we can cover all these subjects. How do people get in touch with you, Dr. Luke? How do they reach you? What's the email address, the business phone number, the website, whatever information you want to give? Why don't you give them that?
Okay. Please feel free to email me at Intercessor Luke, INTERCESSORLUKE @gmail.com.
Okay. Hold on. Let me make sure I repeat that. Intercessor Luke. That's one word, Intercessor Luke?
Yes, sir, it is.
At gmail.com. Okay,
yes, sir.
Good. Now, is there a website?
No, I took everything
No
down.
website. All right.
Referral, yes. You can feel free to call at area code 626-329-2550.
Okay, repeat that. You broke up. Say it again.
Area code 626. 329.
329?
Yes, sir. 2550.
5550.
No, 2550.
2550. Okay, good. Well, listen, it's time for us to end our program. Dr. Chandra Luke, thank you so much for being on Crises Radio. We appreciate it, and I know that there are people out there who are going to be blessed because of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're going to have you come into Arizona and come into our studios so that you can come and talk to our TV audience, too.
Amen. I'd be more than welcome to. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, God bless. And please, I'd like the audience pray for my co-host, Christina Eve. I just saw a text message while she wasn't with us tonight. She has an uncle that's dying. So she's dealing with that even as we speak. So please, audience, pray for her. Elation family, pray for her and her family as well. God bless, each and every one of you. And remember, I always say, agape always. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Amen. Bye-bye.
Stranded, lost, just caught in a daze, blinded, an outcast, life passed on you away, broken, defeated, you can't seem to win, so you cry out, holy, because you need a friend. Stop crying, crying, he'll be there through the night. Stop denying, denying, he's able to change your life. No more hurting, hurting, joy comes in the light. I can see you breaking and praying that something will go right. Call on him and he'll set you free. Alpha, Omega, you're my beginning and my end. Father, my Savior, you're a healer and a friend. Master Jehovah, my life is in your hands. I am free. Confused, distracted, no focus to your calling. You're feeling useless, depression has you falling. You're praying, fasting, believing in a chance. So you cry out, holy, you need deliverance. Stop crying, crying, he'll be there through the night. Stop denying, denying, he's able to change your life. No more hurting, hurting, joy comes in the light. I can see you breaking and praying that something will go right. Just call on him, 'cause he'll set you free. Alpha, Omega, you're my beginning and my end. Father, my Savior, you're a healer and a friend. Master Jehovah, you see my life is in your hands. Set me free. To no